Good afternoon. And the first item of business this afternoon is portfolio questions, the usual mantra. Succinct questions, succinct answers. This is a test. Question one, and I know you won't fail me. Anas Sarwar, please.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Can I start by apologising to the Chamber that I will need to leave at 2:45 as I have a pre-arranged meeting with the Cabinet Secretary for Health on a constituency matter. I have informed the Presiding Officer before. Is that me taking up time? Sorry. To ask the Scottish
Mr Sarwar, that doesn't count. Don't you barrack him. Mr Sarwar.
To ask the Scottish Government what the criteria will be for the allocation of funding for the pilot scheme for first-time buyers.
Minister Kevin Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The new shared equity scheme will be open to all first-time buyers in Scotland by the end of the year, providing them with a deposit of up to £25,000. Buyers will be required to meet 5% of the property value as a deposit from their own funds. It will be part of the range of support we give to those looking to buy their own home, including our Help to Buy Scotland scheme and open market shared equity scheme. This new programme will help buyers purchase a property that meets their needs in the area where they want to live.
Anas Sarwar.
I thank the Minister for that response. Can he clarify if the scheme will include existing stock or only be limited to new stock? And if not including existing stock, what the rational case for that is?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, this scheme is all tenures, new and existing. And as I say, the scheme will provide first-time buyers with up to £25,000 towards the deposit for a property. We think that this fits in well with the other suite of schemes that we have. It is a pilot. We will, of course, analyse how it all works. But I think that this is beneficial to first-time buyers and also to the construction industry here in Scotland.
Angela Constance, followed by Graham Simpson.
Thank you. It was Scottish Housing Day yesterday, so how will this £150 million national pilot scheme build on the Government's delivery of 86,000 affordable homes and its support of over 32,000 households via home ownership schemes?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, the pilot scheme will support at least 6,000 first-time buyers onto the property ladder, enabling them to buy a home that meets their needs and, of course, as I said earlier, is located in the area where they want to live. And it will complement our existing home ownership schemes that have helped over 32,000 households purchase their property since 2007. We are working very hard to increase the number of homes across Scotland so that everyone has a good quality home that they can afford and that meets their needs. And of course we will spend over £3.3 billion during the course of this Parliament to deliver at least 50,000 affordable homes, 35,000 of those for social rent by March 2021.
Graham Simpson.
Thank you. Can the Minister say how this pilot scheme will be advertised, and can he also tell us if somebody borrows up to the maximum £25,000, how much will they have to repay when they sell their house? Minister.
Well, it's an equity-based scheme, and like the other schemes, they would pay back the percentage of the sale on that equity. Officials are finalising the operational details of the first-time buyer scheme. A draft version of the administrative procedures was issued this week alongside the legal procurement documents, and all of that is now in the public domain. These administrative procedures set out how the scheme will work in practice, as well as the criteria for applicants, Presiding Officer.
Question 2, Miles Briggs.
To ask the Scottish Government what plans it has to legislate to ensure that all new homes are fully accessible, including having downstairs sleeping and washing facilities.
Minister.
Presiding Officer, we want everyone in Scotland to have a home that is warm, affordable and meets their needs. In the summer, we published our draft vision and principles for a shared vision for our homes and communities in 2040. This shows our ambition to have enough accessible and adaptable homes across Scotland, suitable for older and disabled people. And we'll be engaging further in how to make this a reality in the coming months.
Miles Briggs.
I thank the Minister for that answer. Today, the British Red Cross have published a document, Life Beyond the Ward, with recommendations to improve hospital discharge. Now, specifically, often one of the challenges is people not being able to return home where they don't have these facilities downstairs. So, in terms of these sorts of documents, what sort of learning will the government be taking forward, especially around an ageing population, which we're seeing?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, we always take cognizance of publications from third sector partners who often have real good experience of what folks are facing. I've said previously in the Chamber that some 99% of the homes that we're delivering in the affordable housing programme meet the housing for varying needs standards. And in answer to Mr Briggs's colleague, Mr Balfour, on the 27th of March, I said at that point that we would look at the housing for varying needs standards, as they are a little bit old now, because we have to ensure that the homes that we're building today are fit for purpose, not only for today, but also for tomorrow. So we will continue to look at all of this, and I would urge all members to encourage all stakeholders and all in their communities to take part in the consultation in Housing to 2040, where we can encapsulate their views.
Polly McNeill.
The Scottish Government set a target of building new homes of 50,000. Does the Minister think it's time to set a target for accessible homes of 10% to focus the minds of the housing sector on the desperate need for a wider range of accessible homes, including the 17,000 wheelchair users in Scotland?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, I don't think that national government setting an arbitrary target is necessarily the right way to tackle some of the difficulties that there are in our communities. And I do think that local authorities have to ensure that in their housing needs and demands assessments, they are capturing all of the folk that require specialist housing in their area and deliver those homes accordingly. I have been very clear during the course of this housing programme that while subsidy standards are set, we will be very flexible with local authorities and with housing associations who want to deliver homes, wheelchair accessible homes, specialist homes, or homes with a greater amount of bedrooms, because we know that that is a difficulty too. Some local authorities and housing associations have grasped that opportunity, and we've seen much more delivery of wheelchair accessible and specialist homes in many places. I want other authorities to look at what the best are doing to capture the needs in their area and to ensure that they are delivering for the needs of their people.
Question 3 not lodged. Question 4, Jeremy Balfour.
To ask the Scottish Government how it will support councils in upholding the changes to regulations regarding homelessness registration applications and people having a local connection.
Minister.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. We will work closely with local authorities as we prepare the ministerial statement, which we are required to issue within 12 months of commencing the provisions in the Homelessness Scotland 2003 Act. And we will listen to their views and look at what we can do together to assist with their preparation. And this will include amending current data collections to ensure that we can measure and, where appropriate, act upon any of the changes. And we will update the Code of Guidance for Homelessness so that local authorities are able to access the information that they need. Changing the operation of local connection referrals is a change that was recommended by the Homelessness and Rough Sleeping Action Group. And I believe that we can all agree that we want people who are facing homelessness to be able to choose where they want to settle and to be able to access the support that they need wherever they find themselves in their homelessness emergency.
I want to get to as many in as possible, so I appreciate the answers, but if you could be a little shorter, as the question should also be Jeremy Balfour, followed by Fulton McGregor, followed by Sarah Boyack.
Thank you. I do welcome the Minister's answer, and I think we can all agree on the points that he's made. But there are concerns here in Edinburgh could see a major increase of applications due to the changes. In the Edinburgh Council 5-year plan, it indicates a cost of £9.2 million to implement that. Will the government provide any additional funding to support Edinburgh City Council through this process?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, the government has recently increased the amount of money that it has provided for the implementation of rapid rehousing transition plans. from the original £15 million to £24 million. But this money is about transition. And it is about allowing local authorities to use that additional resource to bend the spend of their current resource to do what is right for the people in their communities. I have already spoken this week to Edinburgh City, and I've spoken to other places as well around about these changes and how we can help them in collaboration to ensure that those changes are the right one for that place. And my officials and I will continue to do that as we move forward.
Poulton McGregor.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Does the Minister agree that while the Scottish Government is working hard to tackle homelessness, including most recently through the £15 million Prevention Fund, this is a multifaceted issue, and through its unnecessary austerity agenda, the Tory UK Government continues to exacerbate the problems around homelessness?
Minister? Yes, I do agree with Mr McGregor. By 2020-21, £3.7 billion in annual welfare cuts from the UK Government will be felt here in Scotland, with more people at risk of homelessness through debt and rent arrears. And the shambolic introduction of universal credit means that tenants on UC have average arrears more than 2.5 times that those on housing benefit had, and are more than twice as likely to be in debt as all other tenants. We have continually called on the UK Government to backtrack on these flawed policies, to change their minds, to do what is right for the most vulnerable people in our society. And I hope that folk across this chamber will join us in continuing to campaign for those changes and for the UK Government to finally see sense on this issue.
Sarah Boyack.
Will the Minister support further action to tackle the housing crisis in Edinburgh, allow the Council to cap the number of short-term lets in the city and accelerate the funding available for new affordable housing so we can actually eradicate homelessness?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, we have recently reached the conclusion of our consultation on short-term lets, and we are working through the over 1,000 responses that we have had in order that we get whatever is required in terms of legislation right, not only for Edinburgh but also for other parts of the country. We will do that. Presiding Officer, can I point out to Ms Boyack that during the course of the current programme, Edinburgh has actually received £31 million over the original resource planning assumptions that they had in order to deliver more social and affordable housing in this city. And I'm very pleased that Edinburgh has been able to utilise these resources very well.
Questions 5 and 6 have been withdrawn. Question 7, Angela Constance.
To ask the Scottish Government how it will support intergenerational work in communities that aims to tackle inequalities and improve life chances.
Cabinet Secretary Aileen Campbell.
Okay, thank you. The Scottish Government values intergenerational work, and we demonstrate this by providing funding of £70,000 this year to the national experts in this field, Generations Working Together. We believe intergenerational projects break down barriers between generations, tackle negative attitudes and stereotyping, and strengthen local communities. Generations Working Together sit on the Older People's Strategic Action Forum and our national implementation group for our strategy on social isolation and loneliness. Through both this strategy and our A Fairer Scotland for Older People published earlier this year, we will consider what more we can do to promote intergenerational practice.
Angela Constance.
Thank you. Cabinet Secretary, Community Enterprise in my constituency have researched a model of community-led care taking an intergenerational and community empowerment approach that very much views both young people and older citizens as assets as opposed to problems. But their concept needs some investment. So I wondered if the Cabinet Secretary can advise of specific funding streams and opportunities to help test this very innovative approach to intergenerational work.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, and I think it sounds an incredibly interesting project, and of course I would agree that local community groups are essential for cohesion and bringing folk together. And there are many examples across the country of great intergenerational work, some that are managed by the third sector, others by their integrated joint boards. So if the member wants to write with me with the details of the group and the specifics of what they do in her constituency, we'll certainly look into possible funding solutions and give her further information on that point.
Michelle Ballantyne, if you could be a very quick question, please.
Oh dear, right, okay. This morning, Aberlour launched their campaign, A Bad Start Shouldn't Mean a Bad End, outside the Scottish Parliament, which unfortunately many of us weren't able to attend because of committee meetings. But Aberlour are calling for a commitment from the Scottish Government to create a transitional fund to support local authorities to deliver early intervention family support services. Will the Scottish Government commit to looking at such a fund?
Cabinet Secretary.
We'll certainly continue to work with Aberlour and others who want to point out where there may be existing need for additional support, but also to make sure that what we do as a whole as a government, which creates a whole life package of support across the life journey of children and supports them at those key transition points, that if there's more that Aberlour want to discuss, then we'll certainly, I'm sure Marie Todd will be sitting here nodding, she would be happy to engage, and so would we.
Question 8, Rachel Hamilton.
To ask the Scottish Government when it last met Scottish Borders Council.
Cabinet Secretary.
Ministers and officials regularly meet representatives of all Scottish local authorities, including Scottish Borders Council, to discuss a wide range of issues as part of our commitment to working in partnership with local government to improve outcomes for the people of Scotland.
Rachel Hamilton.
Thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer, but I don't think she answered the question. Recently, Nicola Sturgeon announced that Scottish schools would be built or refurbished in the first phase of the £1 billion investment programme, benefiting 50,000 pupils across Scotland. However, none of the schools were located in the Scottish Borders Council local authority area, and rightfully parents were angered by this decision. Can I ask the Cabinet Secretary if the Scottish Government will give assurances that Scottish Borders Council will have a fair share of the funding allocated in the future to the school estate investment?
Cabinet Secretary.
Yeah, and understand that discussion is ongoing and that there is work ongoing with Jedburgh Academy, but there's also continue to work with Borders Council on the strategic direction of the Council's learning estate and to consider which of the Council's upcoming projects might be suitable for Scottish Government support within future phases of this programme.
Thank you. That concludes portfolio questions, and a very brief interlude while quickly members take their places on the front bench.